I don't want to just be absent from disease. I know I don't. And I would hope that most of you out there have standards that are higher from your body and your life than just simply not having a disease. It's Evie here. Welcome to EML Radio, where we are always talking truth. All of those things you need to hear that nobody else is willing to say. Hey, welcome back to EML Radio. Today's show, I'm super excited about it. We're going to be breaking down and discussing all things fitness. And most importantly, I am going to be bringing you some new ways of thinking and new ways of defining what it is that fitness really means. Does being fit really mean that you're healthy? And does looking fit physically really mean that you're healthy? And then most importantly, we're going to bring all this together and figure out whether or not being fit and being healthy really means that you have acquired optimal wellness. So we're just going to dive right into it. If you know me or been following me for any length of time, you know my story on what I think about what the fitness industry is selling. The fitness industry is selling you a misconception that being fit means being healthy, that having six-pack abs or definition in your bicep means that you're healthy. And all of you have been buying into this story that the fitness industry has been selling for so long that you have this idea that creating a good, healthy life, being fit, living to a ripe old age and enjoying life means that you have to somehow deprive yourself, or you have to follow some strict regimented diet, right? And that you overall just live a life of deprivation if you really want to be fit. Right? Well, I'm here to tell you all of that is complete and utter horseshit. None of those things are true. So I'm going to redefine each of these areas for you. I'm going to redefine fitness, I'm going to redefine health, and then I'm going to redefine optimal wellness. And then I'm going to send you on your way today with some action steps on what it really takes for you to obtain optimal wellness. And then also what it takes if fitness or just health are your goals. So let's just get right to it. Let's start by defining what fitness really means. Fitness simply means that you have the physical ability to do whatever it is your life requires of you. That's it. Fitness has absolutely nothing to do with appearance. Right? The only people that fitness is defined by their appearance would be those people who are bodybuilders or figure competitors. Right? Because their physical requirement is for them to be fit to do bodybuilding. Right? And I start out with that as the example, guys, because most of us have this really twisted idea that bodybuilders are the standard of fitness. Well, I'm here to tell you that's just absolutely not true. Right? It depends on what does your life require you to be fit for. Let's take an athlete, for example. Right? An athlete's requirement for physical fitness is a lot different than any of you out there listening to this. Right? So unless you are making money from your physical fitness ability, then you don't have the same requirements in physical fitness as those people whose income goes away if they're not physically fit. So let me just make sure you understand that. Fitness is nothing more than being physically fit enough to do the things that your life requires you to do. That's it, right? It has nothing to do with appearance. It has nothing to do with health, and it has nothing to do with overall wellness. It is just simply whether or not you are physically capable of doing the things that your life requires. Okay? We're going to come back to it. What does health mean? Health is no more than being absent of disease. Right? And this one, like, if you stop and think about that, you're like, shit, like, I don't want to just be absent from disease. I know I don't. And I would hope that most of you out there have standards that are higher from your body and your life than just simply not having a disease. So I think of it this way, like just aiming for health is aiming pretty low. Right? And then let's think about, okay, what does it mean to have optimal wellness? And man, guys, this is like the area that completely lights me up, because when I can help people obtain optimal wellness, I can help people change the entire course of their life. Right? So there are 8 different areas of optimal wellness, and physical is only one of them. Right? So go back to what I talked about in fitness. Physical fitness is only one of the 8 areas that make up the 8 areas of optimal wellness. So to be optimally well, you need to have a balance in your physical being, in your spiritual health, in your financial health, in your social health, occupational health, intellectual health, environmental health, and really importantly, your mental and emotional health. So being fit in your body and looking a certain way only takes care of one of those areas, guys. And when you are out of balance in any of those areas, you have moved away from being optimally well. And I would go so far as to argue that most of you listening probably really do want optimal wellness. Right? Do you want to look good? Well, shit, yeah, we all do, right? Looking good gives us a level of spiritual and social and mental confidence that goes a long way. Right? But we need to start separating the misconception that looking a certain way or being really fit in a gym environment somehow makes you healthy and definitely doesn't make you optimally well. Okay? So let's stay on optimal wellness for a minute. Think about your own life and where you may have imbalances in those areas. So if you go to the gym 5 days a week, you look pretty darn good, you take pretty good care of yourself, but spiritually you're pretty void of anything, right? Maybe just a little bit lost there. Or within your spirit, you just feel like you're just lacking passion and an overall purpose for your life. Then you don't have optimal wellness. Right? Or what about if you are in debt? Right? Financial stress is one of the surest ways for you to decrease your overall optimal wellness. Financial stress, geez, any of us that have ever been there, believe me, I've been there. Like my husband went to medical school and I made $12 an hour when we were first married, right? Talk about financial stress. I get it, right? So any of you that have had financial stress know that there is no way that you are actually optimally well when you have financial stress. Or let's look at all of you out there that tell me on a daily basis that you absolutely hate your job, right? If you hate your job, you do not have occupational health. So it takes balance in all of those areas for us to actually achieve optimal wellness. And optimal wellness leads to living your optimal, highest purpose, most fulfilling life. Right? See how that works? So we've got to learn to start quieting the noise and the misconception that somehow being fit means that you're healthy and that it means that you have optimal wellness. Because I'm just telling you guys, it's absolutely false. Now, is there overlap between those? Well, yeah, of course, right? So think about it this way. If you are improving your physical fitness, you are most likely improving your overall health, right? You're losing weight, you're eating better, you're moving more. Well, all of those things are going to transfer over into you improving your health. Right? But when we start to take any of these areas to extreme, we actually start to diminish our health. And we definitely diminish our overall wellness. Now, I can speak personally to this. So as a gym owner, I got deep into, we started my gym initially like years and years ago as a CrossFit facility. And then we moved into an independent design, more boutique type facility. But anyway, during the course of those years, I developed as a CrossFit athlete, internationally competitive CrossFit athlete. Okay? During that time, because I was training as an athlete, my level of physical fitness was through the roof, right? I could do things that 99.9% of the world couldn't physically do. But I did not have social wellness because my training required me to pretty much do nothing but train. Right? And I definitely didn't have optimal health because being in an extreme environment like that, like any athlete out there, you take yourself further away from health because it causes all sorts of other disruption in other systems within your body. I ended up with hormone imbalances. Also, I had completely no testosterone left, pretty much no progesterone left. I've been digging myself out of that hole for a couple of years now since then. And my point in that, guys, is because I want you to really understand and wrap your mind around the fact that when I looked my fittest, according to what the world would tell you fitness means, I was actually my least healthy. I think a really good example of this, and any of you that are bodybuilders or competitive figure competitors out there, you would agree that what it takes to decrease your body fat to, let's just say, like single digits, low single digits for men and low and single digits for women, what it takes in all of the other areas of your life for you and the extreme exercise and dieting that it takes for you to accomplish that physique is not sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, then it is not optimal for your overall wellness. Right? So here's a couple of things that I want you to leave today's discussion with. Okay? First and foremost is physical appearance does not equal health. Right? And health is a very kind of low benchmark for you guys to be aiming for. If all you want is to be free of disease, I can probably tell you I'm not your gal, right? Because I told you in our welcome episode that if you were someone that just wanted to skirt by in life, that you didn't have high aspirations and want to make yourself optimal, then I probably wasn't going to be your cup of tea, right? So I would challenge you to aim higher than that. I would challenge you to aim for optimal wellness. When you're aiming for that, I promise you, your physical fitness is going to improve, right? Because, one, you're going to be eating foods that make your body flourish and that don't lead you into a life of deprivation, right? And you're going to be moving more and you're going to be feeling better, right? So this is how all of these 8 areas of optimal wellness overlap, and one feeds the other. So when we have physical fitness, we feel better. We feel better, our spiritual health improves, right? When our spiritual health improves, we are bringing about into the world more energy, right? We have a desire to learn more, to improve our intellectual health, right? As we improve our intellectual health, we take time to stop and look at, like, what am I doing as a career? Am I really fulfilled in this? So we become more intellectually healthy, and it transfers over into more occupational health, right? As we become more intelligent in the proper occupational or other environments, we pay more attention to our environmental surroundings. Do these surroundings improve our health? Are they good for us? Do they make us feel good, right? Then you start to build your environmental health, right? All of which comes back to then a huge factor, guys, mental and emotional health. So you have to start looking at all of these 8 areas as overlapping. You cannot just buy into the crap that the fitness industry has sold you, right? They've sold you this idea that being healthy and being well means having a certain body type, and it means diving deep into physical fitness. It doesn't. Right? So here's what I want you to do, and I want you to actually write these down. Okay? Here are your 3 major takeaways from today's talk. I want you to, number 1, eat for what it is you actually want. Do you want optimal fitness? Do you merely just want to be free of disease? Or do you want to have optimal wellness? Right? Eating requirements for those 3 things is completely different. If you just want 6-pack abs and definition in your biceps, I don't care. I think that that's great, right? Who am I to judge, right? I've been there. I've done that, right? If that's your goal, then what you eat is going to be completely different than if your goal is to simply just not have a disease, right? And then the eating protocol for someone that wants to have optimal wellness is even different than either of those. So let me give you clear examples of what I mean there. Eat for what you want as your goal, right? So if you want to be ripped, shredded, great. What it's going to require is serious deprivation. It just is, right? Unless you're like in your 20s and genetically predisposed. But for most of us, that's just not the case, right? Unfortunately, that would make it all really easy, right? But if you want to have a focus merely on your physical fitness and your physical appearance, then you're going to have to get used to being deprived. You're going to have to get used to being in a major caloric deficit. You're probably going to have to either count your macros or weigh and measure your food. And you are going to have to spend a great deal of your time and your mental energy on focusing on what you put in your mouth. So, do you really want that? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But the major thing there when it comes to eating is you have got to realize that what the fitness industry tells you is required in your diet may not be required at all unless it is physical appearance that is your major focus. If all you want to do is be free from disease, well, when it comes to your eating, that's not going to actually be all that tough. Now, you can't eat McDonald's and, Popeyes, right? Because that will cause disease. But if you eat it on a regular basis. Let me clarify that, right? But as far as not getting a disease, you're never going to have to weigh and measure your food, right? It doesn't really matter. You can have slightly higher levels of body fat, right? Slightly higher levels of body fat aren't causing disease, right? So you get the picture there. The standards of your diet are very kind of loose when it comes to just simply trying not to get a disease. And if that's your goal, well, so be it. But I will challenge you in the thinking of that, because you are not going to live your best life if your standard is simply not getting a disease. And what does it look like to eat for optimal wellness? Like, this is good stuff, guys. Eating for optimal wellness means eating a ton of colors. Right? It means eating nutrient-dense foods. It means enjoying the foods you're eating. It means not stressing, not weighing and measuring, not counting macros. Right? You don't have to do those things for optimal wellness. Now, are you going to have what you would consider maybe in your mind the best physical physique? Well, no, probably not. Because think back to what I said about what it's going to be required to have that optimal physical fitness. There's stringent requirements there. But luckily for you, if your goal is to be optimally well, then you don't need to do any of that shit. Do not fall into the trap of what you're seeing everywhere out there, that you have to do a dogmatic diet. You got to count your macros. You got to weigh and measure. You do not have to do that if you are just aiming for optimal wellness, right? You actually have to be aware of the food you're eating, but that's really kind of simple. It comes back to nature has always provided us everything we need to eat right and to make our body flourish, but we've just complicated the shit out of it, right? And modern day farming practices and food growing sources have really kind of destroyed that as well. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But suffice it to say that if you eat the foods that nature gives you in the seasons that it provides it, you get it from a good organic source, that's what you really need to focus on. And I don't know about you, but that is so freeing. For those of you that are probably around my age, I'm 47, maybe a little older, you probably grew up being told that you had to be on a diet. Well, that sucks, right? You do not have to be on a diet, but you do have to pay close attention about the quality of the foods that you put in your body. Right? So, bye-bye to diets, bye-bye to dogmatic thinking, bye-bye to all these restrictive mindset and things you're being shown everywhere. You don't have to do that. I'm here to tell you the truth, and you don't have to do that. You just have to pay attention to eating a heck of a lot of colors in every one of your meals, and then eating for enjoyment as well. And that doesn't mean overindulging. That doesn't mean eating chocolate cake every day. It means when you go to someone's birthday party or you go to a Christmas party, you eat something that you wouldn't eat on an everyday basis. That's great. That's part of enjoying your life. And that's part of obtaining optimal wellness. Okay. So, recap that. Number 1, I want you to decide what it is you want and then eat based on what your goal is. Number 2, you need to decide if you are moving and exercising for what your goal is. Okay? So, do you want optimal physical fitness, physical appearance? Okay? Are you an athlete? Are you getting paid to do a sport or being physically fit for your living and your livelihood? If you are, your requirement of movement and exercise is, that's where you're going to spend most of your time, right? But if you're not an athlete and you don't love being in the gym 5 days a week, right? And you don't love following some really strict program and you really just want to have optimal wellness, well, you don't need to do anything that a high-level athlete would do. And you definitely don't need to be exercising the way a bodybuilder exercises, right? Unless that's your goal. So your movement and your exercise has to be aligned with what it is you're trying to accomplish. What do you like to do with your life? If you love to get outdoors and hike, well then walk more, hike more, right? Make sure you're doing resistance training so that your joints and your connective tissue are strong, and they'll allow you to hike and bike and get out there outdoors for as long as you choose, into your 80s and hopefully 90s. Right? That's an appropriate movement and exercise program. It's not what a bodybuilder does, and it's not what an athlete does. It's what do you want to do with your life, and then you create exercise and movement that supports that goal. And for those of you that your goal is kind of down here, you just simply don't want to get a disease, well, the truth is you don't really have to do shit, right? All you have to do is walk. You have to move the way a human was meant to move. That's it. If you get movement and you avoid really terrible food, like you'll probably avoid disease, right? Because just obtaining health really isn't that hard. It's not. Third and lastly is to make sure that you are avoiding extremes. Okay? And what I mean by that is anytime you focus one area of your life in any extreme, whether it be focusing simply on the way you look, focusing simply on your occupation or your career, right? You focus solely on creating a high level of intellect, right? Anytime we take one of those 8 areas of optimal wellness and we go to the extremes in them, we have to realize that we are sacrificing the other 7 areas. Right? So when it comes to developing physical health, right, you have to avoid extremes if you want optimal wellness. And if you don't, well, that's all right, right? You have the right to choose whatever you want as your goal. But if your goal, like me, is to have optimal wellness, then you have to avoid extremes in any of those areas. So there you have it. Some new ideas and new truths about what does it really mean to be fit, what does it mean to be healthy, and then what does it mean to actually have optimal wellness. You get to choose, and they are not one and the same. So here's the truth I want you to take away today, is that you have to stop believing that health and fitness are the same thing. And most importantly, you have to stop believing the utter bullshit that is spewed at you by the fitness industry that in most cases is profit driven. You have to make the decision to say, I'm not going to buy into that anymore. And then most importantly, you have to take personal responsibility on doing the things that you know are right, that you know are the truth, in order for you to develop optimal wellness. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, guys. I always appreciate you tuning in. Be sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to my channel. We release 2 new episodes each week, and this way you'll make sure that you get notice when a new one comes out. And while you're there and while you're listening, I would ask this in return. If you could just either give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, give a rating on each of these episodes. That goes a long way, and it helps me spread EML radio to a worldwide audience, which is my ultimate goal. Right? So make sure you subscribe. If you don't already, make sure you're following me on social media. I'm at EVFats on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And then really important piece, guys, is make sure you head over to my website, evfats.com, because you can subscribe to our weekly truths where we send you just one email a week with a kind of newsletter format with a recipe in there, with the latest episode of EML Radio, and then also with an additional truth that comes in a written form. So make sure you aren't missing out on that valuable information. Head over to evfats.com. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.